Okay, beautiful. Just let the last few people in. Now, let's get started. My name is Kira Love, and I have been a part of this beautiful Juice Plus community now for 10 years, which is crazy to say because it makes me feel so incredibly old. But it has been the most magical journey and really the single most incredible decision that I've ever made in my lifetime. I can't imagine where my life would be if I had not stepped into this beautiful business world. I'm going to share a little bit of my evolution today, and I'm going to share it with the perspective and the intention that it's going to help trigger something in you. It's going to help you uncover the magic of your journey, and most importantly, the full acceptance and trusting that where you are right now is absolutely where you are meant to be. Now, I've got lots of people continuing to jump on. I'm just seeing who I can see here. Whose face can I see on here? I can see, sorry, everyone keeps jumping around. Mel Hobbs, would you mind if I make you admin? Because it's very distracting trying to talk and then letting everybody in as well. Thank you so much. Beautiful. Let me just find you here. Co-host, perfect. Thank you so much for handling that for me. Okay, so welcome everybody into this space. Welcome to the women who show up for yourself weekly to really invest in you. And I also want to welcome in all of the beautiful new guests that have been invited today to take a little peek behind the curtain and really see the incredible value that we have on offer here. And I really just invite you and call you forward to set the intention that you're going to play in the frequency and the energy of your highest self here today. And I invite you to have the willingness to see, because when we create new awarenesses, we create a new pathway for our growth and evolution. And that is really my intention for you today, to uncover a new pathway for the next elevation of you. So I encourage you to leave all of your favorite flavored limitations to the side today. Your limitations might be overwhelm. That was my favorite flavor once upon a time. It might be comparison. It might be feelings of unworthiness when you find yourself in comparison. But I really invite you and call you forward to sit in the energy of your personal power and the energy of the self-led woman today. And for me, that means leading my life and leading each moment consciously with a powerful context that I get to choose the frequency that I play in. I choose how I want to feel, and I lead myself there. I choose how I want to feel, and I lead myself there. When we elevate how we feel, we elevate our reality. So who's with me on operating in that energy today? Beautiful. All right, so give me a 1 in the chat if this resonates with you. You know exactly where you are right now in your life and in your business world. You know where you want to be and who you want to be. But when you think about bridging this gap of where you are and where you want to be, you feel exposed. At times you feel paralyzed to make a move because you either feel or you imagine these deficiencies in what you need to be in order to bridge the gap. If that lands for you, give me a 1 in the chat. And it may not be on a minute-by-minute basis. It might be moments where you have that, I feel exposed in my business. I definitely had those moments over the past 10 years. So I'm going to call you forward into a new perspective today. And we are going to create a new story loop. And I'm going to really demonstrate the power of creating a zoomed out perspective of your lifeline. And we're going to demonstrate the power of creating a new awareness and a new appreciation first and foremost for where you are right now and being grateful for that journey of becoming so that you can feel excited for where you're going and so that you can have the calm courage to keep putting one foot in front of the other because you know that you are good no matter what. Because it is my belief, and my question to you is, what if these imagined fragilities, right, this feeling of exposure, what if mastering these discomforts are actually the keys to unlocking your next chapter? And what if when we take a look in retrospect and we look back in hindsight, you could see this divine perfection playing out in your world and that you could see the beauty of it all coming together? What if you could look back and truly celebrate each and every one of your challenges that led you to a new elevation, and that you can look back with complete gratitude to the point that you wouldn't change a thing? Because if we could stimulate this level of self-trust and gratitude and trust that life is working for you right now, if we could stimulate that level of confidence and courage and power and certainty and clarity, it would give you the fuel you need to keep moving now towards that next chapter that you desire, right? Where you are, where you want to be. We would speed up the trajectory of you jumping those timelines. So we're going to take that journey together today. We're going to witness the beauty in hindsight to stimulate that courage and that personal power to move with the discomforts that you are currently feeling today. Now, the definition of exposure is the conditions that make available an opportunity to learn or experience new things. The conditions that make available an opportunity to learn or experience new things. And I want you to sit with that for a moment. That's a really powerful statement right there. I believe with all of my being that the portal to our next level, the next elevation in self, which is the elevation you need in order to jump that timeline of where you want to be, I firmly believe that the most direct portal to that transition is through the parts of ourselves we are avoiding. These parts are the conditions that make available the opportunity for growth. And I meet two people in this world: those that lean in to that discomfort in order to move through it, and those who keep leaning out. So are you going to choose to be a woman who fights for those limitations? Because if you fight for them, you get to keep them, right? Or are you going to see and use those limitations as your initiations into the next chapter? So this is going to be a potent conversation of trusting and honoring each chapter that you move through, starting with where you are right now. Because our story would not add up if we keep trying to skip ahead through the chapters. Imagine reading a book and reading chapter 1 and then just getting so impatient and skipping ahead 10 chapters. The story wouldn't make sense, right? But that's what you do to your own journey every single day. I would not be the woman I am today without being the girl I was. It all adds up beautifully in hindsight. This is going to be a conversation of amplifying our personal power so that we can move powerfully with our desires and so that we can hold more of what we do want. And we're going to work on strengthening this idea of staying power towards our vision, especially when things are not going to plan. Would you agree that your greatest limitation to your next elevation in this business is your staying power? That's the part that needs refining. You have a vision for your next goal, but you're a little bit wobbly at times on that staying power, and that slows down your trajectory. That's what we're going to work on fueling today. But you have to be ready to transform your loyalty. That's the work that you need to do, right? Because your loyalties are going to determine where you land. You have to decide to be the woman who is more loyal to her pleasures, more loyal to her potential, and most importantly, more loyal to dwelling in the thoughts of possibilities rather than her fears of failure. When you realize you get to direct those thoughts and you get to choose the beliefs and thoughts that you're going to identify with, then you get to start operating from that personal power, and it will absolutely change the course of your life. But it's up to you to dig out this gold in your journey that we're going to talk about today, and to spotlight it and to romance it and to ruminate on the gold that is in your timeline. That's up to you, because everything you've been through is designed for your evolution. And this gold that we're going to uncover today, they're the keys to unlock the next chapter of your growth. Okay, so you choose how long you're stagnating in your current resistances for. But today we're going to choose to move. We're going to choose to dissolve those blocks. So what are the chapters that define you and your life? I want you to think back on your life, and my team have moved through some of this work with me before, but guess what? You're probably in a new chapter today since the last time we've spoken about this, so it's still completely relevant. But I want you to think about the chapters of your journey that have been the most transformative, that have changed completely or sped up your trajectory in life, and the chapters that are maybe not always the most fun. In fact, often they're not. And often they're not even chosen. But in hindsight, they were the most necessary and where you experience the most exponential growth. So I'm going to share my most defining 3 chapters. And again, I'm sharing this with the intention for you to hopefully uncover some of your own gold. So my first most defining chapter was my health journey. This was in my early 20s. It completely changed the trajectory of my life. So in my early 20s, I had a huge health crisis. Long story short, it covered about a 2.5-year span of my life. Every time I went to the doctor's office, my health declined. I kept handing over my personal power, looking for answers outside of myself. And everything I tried actually made things worse. I literally, and I'm not being dramatic, I knew in my heart and felt like I was slowly dying. The light in myself was just diminishing. And 2.5 years in, I finally got sick and tired of feeling sick and tired. And I took responsibility and I started doing the research. At this point, the internet really became a thing. So I had access to new information, thank God. And very quickly, I began to make changes. And as soon as I began to make changes, I started to get my health back. So this chapter of my life really called me forward in my staying power to honor the integrity of my health. And it defined who I am today and one of my highest values, which is health. And it changed the course of my life in that I changed careers. So because of this chapter, as painful as it was, I now get to live with a light inside me and a passion and a purpose to pass this gift on that I never knew before this challenge. I remember trying so many different jobs and studying so many different things, trying to find this thing that they called passion and purpose, right? And I actually felt depressed with life, which was part of the health challenge, because I just couldn't feel excited about this idea of working for 40 hours a week and not feeling free. So passing on this beautiful gift that I was graced with, as much as I wouldn't have chosen it, in hindsight, I would never change it for the world. Now, the thing with staying power that I want you to be clear with through this whole discussion today is that staying power isn't getting it right 100% of the time. Staying power isn't being on path 100% of the time. Staying power is knowing that life happens, but how quickly do you pull yourself back into alignment when you get off track? Do you operate in alignment more than misalignment? So the staying power that I learned in this chapter around health is am I making more healthy deposits into my health bank account every day than unhealthy withdrawals? Lack of staying power would be, well, I just ate a whole chocolate bar, so I may as well go eat the packet of biscuits as well, and now I may as well have McDonald's for dinner. Staying power is, I ate the cupcake and that's okay, but it's my next choice that counts, and my highest value is health, so I'm going to have a salad because that's in alignment with my highest evolution. So the next chapter for me that was the most defining was the chapter of becoming the self-led businesswoman, the woman who claimed her voice, her self-worth, and created financial independence. And that was the journey that I found here. 10 years ago, I'd been a stay-at-home mum for 8 years. I unconsciously, I think, maybe consciously to a degree, chose very early in high school that I was just going to be a mum. I didn't believe I could really meet the needs of that highest value and be a career-driven woman at the same time without sacrificing on that. But deep beneath that, I really think it was just a lack of self-belief that I could be a kick-ass businesswoman. So when I came into this space, I had all of the stories. Every story that you've had, I've been there. Okay. I didn't know my voice. There's no way I would be on a call like this. Every time I was asked to share my story, I cried in front of everybody. I really, really lacked personal power. When I say that, I really want you to believe it because I know I'm a different human today. My inability to use my voice really birthed from being a very outgoing child, and then life got hold of me, right? And I really got beaten up a lot for being bossy and all of those things. They tell us women, don't be too much, but make sure you're enough, all of the things, right? And so by the time I got to my 30s, I was so unexercised in using my voice that even going out for dinner with my girlfriends, I would sit through a whole dinner and just be an observer. And by the end of that dinner, I would be exhausted and I hadn't said a word. That's how disempowered I was, even around the people I loved the most. So coming into this beautiful business space was probably the greatest transformation of my life. What I realized was, although being a stay-at-home mum was the greatest gift and I wouldn't change it, when we're not actually moving towards our potential, we are not able to feel the deepest levels of fulfillment and joy. Joy and fulfillment comes through moving towards our potential. And if you're not consistently moving, because growth and evolution is what you are here to do on this planet, then you will experience a lack of self-worth. And really what a lack of self-worth is a deep subconscious knowing that you could be doing more. That's where a lack of self-worth is birthed from. So through this beautiful chapter of learning to become the self-led woman and growing these beautiful business skills that I got to learn in this space, through this immense pain that I was experiencing and fears and limitations, I had this leverage. Who's experiencing financial pain or strain? A lack of self-worth, lack of fulfillment, lack of passion. If any of those things resonate with you, those things are not comfortable. We think our comfort zone is comfortable. I had a lot of resistances in my comfort zone. That was a lot of leverage there to make a move. And I needed that leverage on myself. I needed that pain. But through that, I learned to be seen again. I learned to use my voice. I learned to become the self-validated and the self-led woman that I am today who owns her personal power. I accessed the freedom, true freedom. Freedom is my highest value. And I accessed true freedom, which is, yes, financial freedom is a pillar of that, but true freedom is feeling the freedom to be truly yourself, the authenticity that I feel now. That is true freedom. I've broken those chains of what will people think of me that I lived with each day, the chains of those limiting beliefs and lack of self-worth, story loops. I became much more emotionally regulated and grounded because of this chapter. And I achieved all of this because I first owned where I stood. My business was built on my vulnerabilities and my perceived deficiencies. And if you're in this business, I really want this to land with you, because your story loops of comparison are not serving you, and they are so far from the truth, it's not funny. I had so much more power in this space to influence when I was lacking the things that I have today, because it was so relatable to so many people. And it felt so within their reach to come on that journey with me. So you have to own where you are standing right now, because you are a leader of many. You're one step ahead of many who will follow you in this business. That's what I built my business on. Now, the staying power that I really developed in this chapter that has completely defined my trajectory in life is my belief that I can do hard things. And that I can show up powerfully even when I don't feel powerful. Vulnerability is strength and power. And I developed staying power in following through on my word. For the first time in my life, my word was law in the universe. If you can't even believe yourself, then how can the universe conspire with you to make your desires come true? Now, this led me to my third most defining chapter, and I thank God that I had this beautifully, divinely timed growth and evolution, because it set me up to win in this next challenge. And that was the chapter of becoming an independent mum. If there was one thing that I had the most faith in on the planet, it was that I would never be a single mum and my family unit would always be together. And if there's one fear that I had more than anything in the whole world, it was becoming a single mum. It's funny how the universe will sometimes call you forward to face your greatest fears, because that's where the greatest growth and evolution is. And it's certainly where I needed the growth. And the tears, by the way, are not regret. The tears are relief and gratitude. The hindsight beauty of seeing it all come together. It does take my breath away. And that's what I'm hoping you get to experience by looking at your journey today. Because of the world's conditionings, I had absorbed the coding that being a single mum meant you had lost value in the world. And I also had the experience personally of growing up in a single mum home. And I knew the challenges that entailed. So out of all the fears in the world, that was my greatest fear. And I definitely wouldn't have chosen that pathway for myself. And it happened unexpectedly in a way that I didn't get to prepare myself. But in hindsight, I would never, ever change a thing. Because at that stage in my life, I had experienced so much growth in my personal power. But the one space that was still missing was my reliance on my self-trust and safety. I put that outside of myself. I relied on others to help me feel certain and safe. I relied on outside circumstances. I was bringing in exponential wealth and I still felt financial uncertainty. I had so much power and control over how my life looked, but I still felt unsafe. So through this chapter, I birthed the deepest levels of self-trust that I'd never experienced in my life. I learned to develop and trust my intuition and how to stand truly on my own 2 feet, and not from a scarcity energy, but from a true deep knowing that I am good no matter what, that I do land on my feet powerfully. I really got to return, and maybe for the first time in my life, truly, I got to experience true empowerment in my surrendered feminine energy. And because I faced the very thing that I feared the most, that's where I had the most growth in my personal power, because I chose to thrive in that time, not just survive. And when you thrive through what you perceive to be the most challenging thing that you've ever faced or your greatest fear, you almost have a sense of invincibility because you've conquered the hardest thing, right? So I had this sense of like, if I can do that powerfully, then I am a powerful woman. Now, the staying power that I developed in this time, along with the self-trust and the intuition, was being able to move with excitement, even in the absence of evidence. So what I mean by that is that it was a, lengthy period of healing and hard times. And even though there was no evidence, because what it looked like on paper was my world was falling apart. So there was no evidence that the future was exciting. But I chose powerfully every single day the context because I knew my power as a conscious creator. My context every single day, no matter whether I was having a good day or a bad day, was the future is exciting. Now, because that was the energy and the context that I called myself into every day, I choose how I feel and I lead myself there. I operated in my actions in alignment with that belief. And so where did I lead myself through that challenge? Of course, the future was exciting, right? So where I'm standing now is in a place where I truly believe hand on heart that life has never been as good as it is right now. I developed that staying power that I am the master creator and all things are working for my highest good. And even though I may not see the blessing right now, I have faith that one day I'll look back in hindsight and it will all make complete sense and I will never change a thing. And because of the context that I held myself in this journey, it actually was one of the most beautiful chapters of my life. I had so many gifts in that chapter. And as I said, life has never been as good as it is right now. But there are also times where I look back and I just remember all of the gifts and all of the self-love time and the self-nurture and the peaceful moments and the beautiful feminine flow that was birthed in that time. And I have immense gratitude for all of it. I was able to operate in alignment with my highest good in that chapter because of the chapters before. The chapters before helped me grow the level of personal power and confidence to unlock the next chapter with the personal power I needed to conquer that chapter. So what defined each of these chapters was this beautiful golden thread weaving its magic. And what enabled me to conquer each chapter was this knowledge and acceptance that in order for life to change, I had to change. I owned where I stood. I took accountability for why I stood there. And I knew I was responsible for my trajectory to evolve through it. I not only decided to become what I needed to be in those times, but I really focused on who I wanted to be. So when I moved through the independent mum phase, for example, I needed to be strong. I needed to hold it together for my girls. I needed to find courage. I needed to hold heavy things at times. But I also focused on who I wanted to be. I wanted to be soft. I wanted to be radiant. I wanted to be the kind of woman that would attract in the relationship that I truly desired. So I chose the context of each chapter powerfully. And I chose each chapter to be an opportunity to thrive in spite of the challenges, to move with the challenges in order to grow. Every chapter, I could have fallen in a heap. I could have chosen victim consciousness. And we all know people who do this in crisis. We all know someone who gets a health, like they get something wrong with their health, and then they go to the doctor and they hand over all their power to the doctor and they just want the pill, they just want the quick fix, but they actually do nothing in their personal power to change the things that made them unwell, right? Same with your business. Your business is designed to challenge you. When you hit the challenge, are you the woman who hands over her personal power and says, this is not for me, someone else fix this? Or are you the woman who stands up to the challenge and understands that that is a divine invitation for your growth, to learn new things so that you can elevate to the next level, and it's all planned for you? You can collapse many timelines and speed up your trajectory in this business or any desire you have by challenging the core beliefs that you have. When we transform our victim states into our creator consciousness awareness, we can transform things very quickly. An example of this is COVID. When COVID hit, the majority of the world went into the victim state consciousness. Life as we knew it was over. But there were people in the world who looked for opportunities to thrive. They changed their perspective. They zoomed out, they took in a wider perspective, and they pivoted to move with the times. We did that in my business, and my business actually had incredible growth in COVID because I made available the opportunity for growth. What you focus on will expand for you. What you focus on is creating your reality, and how you're showing up each day in your habits, which become your personality. That is what is shaping the reality that you see and feel. So your core beliefs are the fuel for your manifestations. And these codings that we have, these beliefs, many of them are unconscious. But the self-led woman, she goes looking for those unconscious beliefs because she knows that her beliefs are shaping her reality. So she better get clear on what is in the driver's seat. Some of our codings are cultural. A lot of our codings are absorbed. They're not, we haven't consciously chosen them. So some of the beliefs you have around self-worth and your capacity in this business are actually absorbed from the culture around you. Some of your conditionings are generational and some are through personal experience. So if we look at my independent mum journey, why was I so scared? Why did I have this limiting belief around what it meant to be a single mum? Well, culturally, there's some beliefs around that I had absorbed. Generationally, I had an experience with that. So there were some codings around what that meant. And then I had my own personal reality experience with it. And it wasn't until I zoomed out and created some awareness over those beliefs I had absorbed, wasn't until I got aware of that and clear on that, that I was able to consciously ask myself, are these beliefs serving me? Are they really true? And how am I going to consciously lead myself to new beliefs that are going to serve my future? I've lost value as a woman because I'm an independent mum. I transformed that to the future is exciting. All possibilities exist, and I get to create what my future looks like. And being an independent mum does not determine whether that's good or bad. So the self-led woman, not only is she a conscious observer of her thoughts, and not only does she consciously choose the thought she's going to identify with, but she chooses her actions based on the reality that she wants to experience. Because she knows that her inner world is what is creating her outer world. So we have to master this inner world if we want to master what is happening in our outer world. And this power that we have, this conscious creator power, has absolutely nothing to do with what is happening in your external reality. We honestly think that it's our problems that we have that are our limitations. We think life should be easy. I promise you, if you bring this on as your core belief. It will absolutely transform your life. You do not want life to be easy. You think you do, but if life was easy, it would not be worthwhile. You have to understand the duality of life. We know pleasure because we know pain. We know light because we know dark. Success only feels like success because it's hard. That's what the exhilaration comes from, right? Is knowing who you had to become in order to achieve it. It's not a problem that problems exist. As Tony Robbins say, problems are a sign of life, right? But the self-led woman, she leads herself to solve high frequency challenges that move her forward in life. She doesn't get stuck on low frequency problems and story loops like comparison. And when you believe that you live in a generous universe, a universe that wants you to win, a universe that is conspiring in your favor, and when you believe that everything you go through is preparing you for the next timeline, you welcome it. And when you welcome it, you get to dissolve it so much quicker. I trust fully, and I hope you leave with this new core belief if you don't have it already. I trust fully that I don't have problems. I have preparations and initiations for holding more. One of the fears that comes up when I coach women in this community is that when you experience success, what if you can't hold it? Give me a 1 in the chat if that's a fear that has popped up for you, and maybe it pops up consistently. Beautiful. When you understand the divine grace in your resistances, you get to develop that self-trust where you no longer have to have those fears. You get to release those fears that what if I can't hold it? If we look at our beautiful compensation plan as just the most perfect logical example of growth and evolution over a lifetime, it is this beautiful stepping stone to success. So when you come into this business as a partner and your next step is Partner Plus, it is just enough outside your comfort zone to stretch you, but it's in the realm of your possibility. And when you conquer that, you've grown in personal power just enough that you'll be able to hold that level. And then you work on refining and defining the skills for the next level. It's just enough outside your comfort zone to stretch you for your growth and evolution that is divinely planned for you, but it is in the realm of your possibility. So when you reach that step, you've grown the personal power to hold it. When you approach your goals in this manner, where it's outside your comfort zone, but in the realm of your possibility, you get to grow this personal power with grace, and you get to grow that self-trust, and you never have to worry that you're not going to be able to hold it. That's what I love so much about our business for empowering women, because it is just the most beautiful, graceful, divinely planned journey for women, for them to find their empowerment. But instead of trusting and believing that journey, whether it's in this space or another, you're wasting so much valuable energy in anxious attachment, questioning, why is this not happening the way I want it to? Why am I feeling resistance? Why is this not easy? Instead of just trusting and surrendering that it's happening for you and learning to move with it. Because you're using just as much energy resisting the resistance as it would take to move with the resistance. In fact, more. I think about how much energy I used to waste spiraling in my negativity and self-suffering. It was fucking draining. And I feel so free. I feel like I'm floating most days. And it doesn't mean I don't do a lot of hard things, but I don't waste energy worrying about them. When you look back in hindsight, you will see that often your worst days and your hardest days and your biggest challenges are really your best days. And the resistances are your gifts because they lead you to a new level of hunger. They lead you to a new drive. They help you grow that next level of capacity so you can hold the desire that you have. They help you grow courage to move. There is no courage if there's no hard, right? If you don't have to face a fear, then how are you courageous? We have to learn to move with these fears, and we can call on the evidence of looking at these chapters. And this is the golden thread I'm talking about. You have so much evidence that you are good no matter what. You have so much evidence that you've always landed on your feet, that the universe has your back. And instead of focusing on all of that overwhelming evidence, because there's duality in everything, you choose to create evidence to validate your not enoughness and the self-worth and all of the other challenges. But if you just simply chose to turn your head and look the other way, you could validate that you are enough and you are worthy and you've always been good no matter what. Because whatever you're seeking evidence for, you will find. So what do you spend your energy every day seeking evidence for? If you saw evidence for the core beliefs that I have, how would that shift your trajectory? We have to choose the evidence we're anchoring ourselves into each day, and we have to make ourselves the safest anchor, the safest bet, because you know you're good no matter what. When you develop this certainty in you, the beautiful gift from that, by the way, is that that's when your femininity really gets to come out and play. Because the feminine is about freedom and flow and trust. She only gets to dance when she feels free and safe. Anxious attachment and constantly trying to control the outcome and no surrender, right? That will put you in that masculine and on edge. So the context that you're leading yourself with each day will absolutely change everything. When you shift from why is this happening to me? Why am I feeling resistance in my business right now? Why is this hard? To everything in my world right now is preparing me to hold more. How would that shift your energy and excitement to face the resistance? What are you focusing on? But more importantly, what are you making it mean? Choose meanings that support your growth and evolution. Now, some of you are feeling resistance in this conversation, and you can be completely honest with me if you want to, right? Maybe I'm triggering something inside of you. And again, I want to call you into your higher self, because that resistance is an opportunity for your growth. So catch yourself if you're leaning in or out, right? Retrain your mind to look for those opportunities for growth, those pathways that are being presented for you. One of the most powerful tools that this business has given me is the way I have changed my relationship with not only my self-talk, but also the way that I see the resistances of life. Resistance is simply preparation for you to hold more. It's like going to the gym, right? If you want to build stronger muscles, what do you need to do? You have to lift the weights. You cannot skip that step. And the most important strategy when it comes to lifting weights, building your mindset, is that you stretch yourself enough for growth, but that you keep yourself in the realm of possibility so you don't break your body or mind and then take yourself out of the game. So when it comes to business, you've got to set yourself up for success, right? Set yourself up to win. Stretch yourself every day. But if you're expecting to jump from senior partner to NMD, you will be overwhelmed. You will take yourself out of the game for 3 months because you compared yourself to Shani, right? She's so many chapters ahead of you. You have to focus on what your next level of resistance training is. Through that action is how you train the muscle of your mind. You know, when I say what you have to be conscious of what you focus on and what you make it mean, it's because there's duality in everything again. So what's wrong is always available in life, but so is what's right. And again, so much of my life, I was trained to focus on what was wrong rather than what was right with life. Now, there is grace in absolutely everything. So today, I really want to invite you to zoom out on your life. And I want you to begin to see these resistances that are showing up for you, that you keep hitting that wall again and again and again, and you keep leaning out instead of moving through it. I invite you to see those resistances as your initiations, because they are the key to your next chapter. And I think from this perspective, you stop wishing them away. You get excited when you feel them because you know there's a huge elevation for you on the other side. But if you keep seeing resistance as wrong, I don't know where this idea came from. And this is something we work on our home a lot with our children as well. I think one of the greatest ways we disadvantage our children, and we really don't honor them and their greatness in the way that we try to make their life so comfortable. We try to fight their fights for them and make sure that they're not presented with any kind of resistance or challenge. We want to make all their hurts go away. Life was not meant to be comfortable. We grow resilience in discomfort. If you want resilient children, stop making their life so comfortable, because they're going to be so shocked when they get out into the real world, right? Discipline and resistance is born through discomfort. It's not meant to be easy. The resistance is there for a reason. And you have to trust that you're not given resistances that you're not meant to overcome. Self-trust. So the self-led woman has this deepest level of self-trust that she's good no matter what. She has staying power in the void when she feels exposed. And she chooses actions that align with bridging the gap. And she knows that even in the space of the unknown, right? This is where you are. This is where you want to be. This feels outside your comfort zone because there's so much that is unknown. The truth is there's so much that is known in that space too. And you can choose to focus on all the evidence of why you're good no matter what. So I believe each chapter is defining our staying power towards this overarching goal of our growth and evolution. Now, staying power, I want to tidy this up with you. It's not showing up in misalignment or overstaying toxic dynamics. It's not overcompensating for other people's misalignment. So in this business, that looks like a lot of babysitting and doing for others. That's not staying power. It's not constant hustle. It's not overgiving, and it's not about trying to control everything. Staying power is always in alignment with your highest good. It's who you choose to be no matter what is happening around you, right? Are you showing up in your business no matter what, or only as long as? As long as it's easy, as long as it feels good. It's who you are inside of the circumstance that counts. Who you are when it's hard says so much more about you and determines so much more of your trajectory than who you are when it's easy. Everybody can show up when it's easy. It's who you are when it's hard that really defines who you are and your personal power that you currently hold. It's staying true to the aligned action of your desires even when your mindset dips, even when you're having a hard day. Do you turn on the TV and self-medicate? Or do you choose to show up on team training because you know that's going to cause an elevation of energy and pull you back into alignment with your desires? It's mastering the energy of when things come up in your life that do halt your movement. You're able to quickly dissolve the block and keep moving. Here's a self-assessment for you to write down and come back to later. What happens in your business that halts your movement? That's your limitation. That's your resistance that you need to work on dissolving. And inoculate yourself against it. When you pre-decide how you're going to show up, it's very powerful. Shine a spotlight on what takes you out of the game, then pre-decide how you're going to master your energy next time it happens. How do you normally respond, but how are you going to choose to respond? So training this muscle of staying power and aligning it to your chosen context is absolutely everything if you want to speed up your growth in your business. Whatever story you're telling yourself, whether it's good or bad, you will begin taking action that aligns with that focus, and then it's inevitable that it becomes your reality. For example, if comparison is your favorite limitation, and you're on social media and you know that you should be posting a story about your business, but you're scrolling, and then you see another woman in this business or in another business that you've got on a pedestal and you automatically put yourself in a pit, what are you going to do? Is that going to inspire you to post? Or are you going to go, I'll post tomorrow, I don't feel so good about myself now? Are you aligning your action to what you want or what you don't want? Because not being in the chapter you really want to be in, you're so excited for what comes next. The holdup comes down to two things: an untrained mind and lack of staying power. And that's all it is. And the beauty of that is we can master this really quickly through practice and precision and conscious action. The chain reaction of your untrained mind, I'm going to put a spotlight on it now. I just want to untangle it for you, because when you get a grasp on it, you can catch yourself. It loses its power over you. But this is how we unconsciously lead ourselves so much of the time, is that for most people, when they're triggered, their mindset will drop. That happens to all of us, right? When I'm triggered, my mindset will drop. But this is the defining moment right here. Do I match my action to the drop in my mindset? Or do I match my action to how I want to feel and where I want to be? When you match your action to your desired reality in spite of that dip, that is what staying power is. That is what speeds up your trajectory. So for example, if you've got a health goal, you find yourself on social media, you see the hottest thing in the world and she's all been filtered and all the things, and now you're comparing yourself, and now your health goal seems so far away, so you may as well eat the cupcake. You eat the cupcake. Now this is the defining moment. It wasn't that you ate the cupcake. It's where does your mind go then? I ate the cupcakes and now I've failed, so now I'm going to have McDonald's, and now I'm not going to go to the gym, and I'll start on Monday. And every week you'll start on Monday. And 2 years later, you notice you're no closer towards that 10 kilos that you wanted to lose. Versus the woman who has staying power that goes, I ate the cupcake, it doesn't define me, it's my next choice that counts, I'm realigning with my goal. Who's going to get to their goal faster? It's not about perfection. You are human. You are going to wobble. Change your relationship with the wobble. I consistently wobble. If you're not wobbling, you're not pushing yourself. And the crazy thing is you actually think your comfort zone is comfortable. When I think about where I was when I came into this business, life sucked. It wasn't comfortable. I argued every day about finances with my partner. I could never buy the things that I wanted. We got kicked out of homes for not paying rent. Like, life was painful. It wasn't comfortable at all. So what are you really choosing? Because if you're resisting resistance in this business, you're choosing resistance in your life. I'll say it again. If you're resisting, oh, it's hard to, get to Partner Plus. Yeah, it's meant to be. But if you don't do that, then maybe you can't pay the rent next week, which is more uncomfortable. You have to be true with yourself on that, right? Here's another example of how your untrained mind works. Relationships. I believe relationships and business is very similar, how we do the two, right? Your partner does something. Your team member does something that triggers you in your relationship. Your mindset drops. Now you start running all the stories. I did this 10 years ago when I first joined this business. All the blame, shame, and justify. I started looking for all the evidence He always does this. He never does this. What am I doing? Am I building connection or am I building resentment? When you're full of resentment, what is your action aligned with? Connection or resentment? So now, not only am I operating in alignment with resentment, but the environment is going to respond to my resentment. My partner is going to resent me back. There's going to be disconnect and disharmony in the home. The children are going to feel it. I'm expanding resentment and disconnection. What the self-led woman does in this circumstance is she has the self-awareness to zoom out. She holds her emotional regulation. She understands and believes that all humans, healthy humans, are always doing their best and always have the best intentions. And so she chooses behaviors that are aligned with what she does want, which is connection. All healthy humans want to feel connected. So in spite of the challenge, in spite of the triggering thing, an event, she has faith that her partner or her team member had the best intentions. Now, not only does this elevate her energy, but it elevates the energy of her environment. Her partner is responding to her loving response. The children, the business, the team, the community, they're responding to your energy. Does that make sense? So we have to train our mind to catch ourselves in those moments and direct and lead ourselves to what we do want to feel and experience, because life is a mirror to how we're showing up. When you leave your untrained mind to run wild, which is what I did, right? And sometimes I still story loop, right? It's how quickly can you catch yourself. But what will happen is you'll begin to attack all the things that you think are not working for you, and you'll make them bigger and bigger. And again, I said this before, how much energy is wasted dwelling on problems, dwelling on wondering why our business or our relationships or our health isn't where we want it to be, rather than training our mind to see solutions and understanding that only love is real, and I can lead myself to the highest vibrational outcomes, which will collapse time and bring you closer to what you do want so much faster. So how much valuable energy resources are you using up complaining and thinking about problems in your business rather than taking aligned action? Because this is how we dilute our potency and our magnetism. Dwelling in problem orientations, like comparison. And we create everything that we don't want when we're in this energy. So staying power and mindset go hand in hand. The antidote to master staying power, no matter what, is taking the action that is in alignment with what you want in spite of the mindset dip. Because your mind will eventually catch up with you. If I take myself back 10 years, I was a quivering mess inside. Every time I was asked to take action in my business, I had the fear, but I chose to do it anyway. And then my mindset caught up. Oh, okay, that wasn't so bad. There's some evidence and validation that I can do this. But it won't happen for you in the reverse, right? We build belief through action. But for as long as you stay in action, in alignment with your desires, then your doubt will grow. So training that emotional fitness is absolutely everything in every area of your life. It will transform, especially your relationships and your business, and our ability to walk with discomforts, to stop leaning out and thinking that they're not for us, because your greatest gifts are going to come from moving through them. We have to acclimate. This is another self-leadership tip I really encourage you to work on, is acclimatizing yourself to discomfort. That's why I get in the ice bath, not because I find it fun. It's because it's growing my mindset and my resilience to do hard things, to be able to move when I tell my mind it's go time. That's powerful. Do you consciously, I put things in my world designed simply for my mindset expansion. You know, I know women in business that throw themselves out of airplanes simply for growing and expanding their mind and self-trust, that I always land on my feet. Like literally throw themselves out of airplanes, right? Put things in your world that acclimatize you to discomfort, being able to move with it. Because when you can hold the energy of discomfort and you can learn to move anyway, that's when you can hold big things. You no longer have to fear, what if I can't hold it when I get there? So I just want to wrap up by reiterating the power of your context that you're leading your life with, because we get to create the context of the chapter that we're in right now. And I just have so much faith and belief that this is so powerful to stimulate the fuel and the inspiration that we need to move with resistance. Because every chapter is going to bring a new opportunity for growth, right? So, for example, when I was the independent mom, although I had no evidence that the future was exciting, I chose the greater context that the future is exciting. So even in the worst moments, I had this beautiful energy that gave me power and inspiration to get up in the morning and to move and do the things that were going to help me move through that chapter and land in the chapter that I wanted to be in faster. The beautiful, connected, soul-led relationship that I desired really was dependent on who I chose to be and how I chose to move in that independent mom chapter was what I was going to attract in my world. My new chapter that I'm in is filled with equal duality that exists in every chapter, and that is the chapter of blending a family. There's double the joy and pleasure and fun, but there is absolutely double the complexity and complexities that you would never imagine unless you're in it. And, you know, it has been just as much challenge as joy. And if I had have chosen the context that I'm only going to do this and be here if it feels good, I would have left the first week. Because being a stepmom is really hard, right? You think your own children do your head in, remove the lens of rose-colored glasses that you have with your own children. You need a whole nother level of patience. And, you know, I feel like when I say we have to love our children, there's like an innate, that it's such an innate thing. When it comes to consistently supporting another person's children, that's choice. It's a daily choice. So that's where you truly learn unconditional love. I'm not sure that we really learn that with our own children, but that's a whole nother journey that I've been on. So the context for me in this chapter is to really awaken new levels of patience and self-awareness and nurture and standards that I hold myself in, because the curious thing about children is they're a mirror for the parts of you that you don't accept within yourself. And it's easy to love the parts of you don't accept in yourself, probably with your own children, not so easy with children that you didn't birth into the world. So it's this beautiful, like it is literally the next level of growth that I needed if I look at that perfection and divine timing in terms of how I want to, you know, grow and who I want to be spiritually. So I have a beautiful, powerful context. And as I said, when you look in this business, if you're only showing up if it feels good, like that context isn't going to hold you in any area. It really isn't. You have to create a bigger context for yourself. For me in this business, the context was becoming the self-led woman, elevating my energy, stepping into my authority and authenticity in a way that I'd never been able to in any area of my life before then. And I needed that. I couldn't breathe. I was desperate for it. It was the oxygen that I needed. And so even though it was hard and I met challenge on the way, the greater context and then holding that space for other women is what allowed me to move and to refuel my inspiration even when it was hard. So it's our job to pull that gold out of the chapters. And I hope you see that thread that I've weave today. It's our goal. It's our job to stimulate our own excitement. Are you focused on the discomfort of moving with the next level in your business? Or are you going to focus on, well, if I don't do that, then it's like this discomfort is going to grow in my life? You get to choose what you're stimulating, your inspiration or your doubt. You know, what if you chose to see this current chapter that you're in a different way? If you played devil's advocate with your thoughts each day, the self-led woman does that with all of her beliefs. Play devil's advocate. Just because you have a belief does not make it true. Is it serving you? Is it something you need to untangle from and create a new identity that is going to serve you? All stories are illusions. So choose ones that are actually in alignment with the destiny that you desire. And then intentionally create a context for this chapter that is going to support your growth and evolution, that is based on intention, which is decision energy, which is very different to I'm going to try, I wish this will happen, I hope this will happen. That's wishy-washy. I can tell you where that's going to land versus the decision. So I've got some journal prompts. I'm going to bring them up on here and you guys can screenshot them. This is where the real work is. You can listen to me, but it's never going to really sink in unless you do the work. Share screen. I don't know why I'm always blind to the share screen option. Okay, so you can draw this. I can create a link and pop it into the group for you guys, but you can just draw this in a journal. The first prompt for you is the concentric circles of self, and that is really to take that journey of retrospection that I took you through to gain more clarity in the journey that you've been on personally, so that you can move through that identity upgrade that you're desiring with more faith, right? With that sure footing that you desire. Because even in the midst of the unknown, as I said, so much is known, and self-mastery is about surrendering into who we are right now, right? That is really the greatest void I find when I'm coaching women, is they're in so much resistance for who they are instead of celebration. Because when you master this, that's when you unlock the next chapter. So this small circle right at the start, that's your seed. So for me, the seed of my evolution was that health crisis. And often the seed is what changes your trajectory in life. And perhaps it's influenced who you be today, what your passion is, what your purpose. And then the next step, and I've just given you 3, I've had other defining chapters, but then it was my business, and then it was the independent mom. And what you can see is each chapter or each circle is holding the next. It leads to the next. Grateful for where you are, excited for where you're going. Your evolution is never about your not enoughness. You're designed for consistent growth and evolution. It doesn't mean you're not enough now. The journey, you're exactly where you need to be. Now, here's the journal prompts that I would encourage you to work through. What are some of your most defining chapters in retrospect, and what was the gift or overarching theme in each of these chapters? Perhaps you've never uncovered, you haven't looked back in hindsight and realized, wow, that hardest thing that I went through was absolutely divinely planted for me to experience. And look what was birthed because of that experience. What theme of staying power did these chapters help you define? So for me, it was the staying power of honoring the integrity to my health. It was the staying power that I can do hard things and I can move with resistance. And it was the staying power to have faith that the future was exciting in spite of the fact that there was no evidence to say that it was. I have unwavering belief in these 3 things now because of that experience. And the personal power that I have because of those core beliefs is exponential compared to where I was. What is requiring your staying power right now? And I encourage you to think of your business. You can absolutely do other areas of your life. But in your business, what is the wall that you keep hitting and then leaning out from? Because that is the doorway to the next chapter. And you need that lesson so that you have the skills to be able to move in the next chapter. This is the thing I see women do. They wish away the lesson But then if you get it easy without the lesson, you will slide backwards in the next chapter, and that will impact your self-confidence and self-worth more than anything. Don't desire to skip ahead. It will not serve your personal power. It will diminish it. What potential is waiting for you in this chapter where you stand right now? Remember where your focus goes, you're going to expand that energy. What discomfort in this chapter is this chapter calling you forward to master? Is it honoring your word to yourself? Is it putting yourself first? Is it setting a goal and showing up for yourself? Is it consistency? What do you think the gift is that is waiting for you when you unlock your staying power through this chapter you are in? Stimulate the excitement. Fear to me is excitement because I love seeing who I become when I face the fear. What story do you want to tell about yourself in hindsight about this chapter? I'm so proud of my journey and the woman I chose to be inside of each chapter. I chose creator consciousness instead of victim consciousness. I chose to have it work for me instead of happen to me. How will you ensure this chapter is the one you remember for the rest of your life? What is that piece or edge you're holding back from in order to elevate to the next level you need to show up in and to be seen in? And why can you walk with these fears? What are they here to activate? What is the real truth? And how will your future self celebrate the best case scenario of walking with your fears and vulnerabilities? Describe how you walked with your fear and what happened because of it. Who did you become? What did you create? How does it feel? Why was it worth it? I just had this vision. The last 6 months inside my relationship, we've really grown a lot as a family. We have harmonized. When you blend a family, there's very much a distinct separateness feeling. And we have worked so hard on the harmony and bringing our worlds together. And the love and the level of consciousness inside my relationship, the happiness, the fulfillment, the desire for growth. When I read my vision statement, and some of you have been around long enough to remember the relationship part of what I wanted to call in, I'm just like tick, tick, tick. And all of that became available to me because I walked with the fear, right? Because I was able to celebrate exactly where I was, even if I didn't choose it. How will that feel if all of your desires come true because you decide to move with it? And I've got some beautiful mantras there to help direct your thinking away from the limitations and instead towards beliefs that will help you elevate to the next level. I will post a link to these in the group so you guys can really work on that. But what you put into this is what you're going to get out of it. I really believe that a key element to my success was constantly stimulating my vision for where I wanted to be and allowing that to be my driving force. And making sure that that energy that I stimulated outweighed and overcame the energy of my resistances. And we all have the power to do that. I want you to remember that who you choose to be when it's not going your way is going to influence your trajectory and say more about you than who you are when it is. It's not meant to be easy. Control your focus, especially when it's hard and even when it's easy. Master who you are when you're not getting the results that you desire, because life is responding to your energy and you always get to choose that frequency that you want to play in. So I want to thank all of the beautiful guests that joined us today. This is such a beautiful space that we get to play in together and support each other in on a week-to-week basis. If you have been craving a space where you are celebrated for your growth and evolution, then you've certainly found it here. And I know so many women on this call would agree that they wouldn't be who they are without the women here walking side by side and celebrating their rise and calling them forward and backing them up. I can't even fathom where I would be in my world if it wasn't for this. Certainly not experiencing the incredible joy that I do every day now because of this. So if you would love more information, we have some beautiful events, and you can talk to the person who shared the link with you and get your questions answered. This is a space where you get to link arms, whether you do a little or a lot, whatever your vision is. Our job is just to support you in that coming true. So I hope you guys have an absolutely magic day. Thank you for sharing this time with me. And thank you for stepping into that higher self energy and being willing to call yourself forward. And I really hope that the invitation to see what it is that you needed to see today in order to elevate, I really hope that you took that on board and that you experienced some growth from this time that you invested. Thank you so much, everyone. Have the best day.